There comes a point in your growth when you can feel it. You're shrinking, not because you're not ready, but because the people around you aren't. You catch yourself hesitating before speaking. You downplay your achievements. You make yourself relatable by pretending you're not further ahead than you are. You laugh off things that matter to you. You say maybe when you mean absolutely. Why? Because you're afraid that your bigness might make someone else feel small. But let me ask you a question. How long are you going to keep betraying yourself to protect their comfort? From early on, many of us were conditioned to play small. In family settings, we were taught not to show off. In school, we were praised for being humble, not for being honest about our gifts. And in friendships or relationships, we learned to be relatable, even if it meant hiding our light. So, we became masters of dimming. We dumbed ourselves down in conversations. We withheld ideas in meetings. We waited to be asked when we already had the answer. The truth is, we were trained to prioritize harmony over authenticity. But here's the twist. If harmony costs you your voice, it's not harmony. It's suppression. Here's what no one tells you. Playing small doesn't just hurt your growth. It damages your self-respect. Every time you downplay your abilities, you teach your subconscious that your truth is too much. Every time you let someone else take credit or stay quiet to avoid tension, you send a message to yourself, your power is a problem. And over time, that becomes your story. You stop applying for bigger roles. You stay silent in rooms where your insight could change the outcome. You settle for relationships where you're tolerated, not celebrated. You start to think you're being modest. But deep down, you know what's really happening. You're self-sabotaging in the name of keeping peace. Let's be real. Some people prefer you small. Your uncertainty gives them power. Your silence makes them feel superior. Your hesitation keeps them from being challenged. But their comfort is not your responsibility. You were not created to be a prop in someone else's story. You were made to become. And if your growth makes them uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is often the first sign that something real is happening. You're not here to babysit their ego. You're here to expand. Let's clear something up. Shrinking is not humility. Hiding is not grace. Playing down your power is not noble. It's self-neglect. True humility is knowing your worth and not needing to prove it. But false humility? That's when you pretend not to know your worth so others don't feel insecure. That's when you say, I'm just figuring it out, when you already figured it out months ago. That's when you say, I'm lucky, instead of, I worked for this. Real humility is rooted in truth, not distortion. It's standing tall with both feet planted and saying, yes, I'm good at this, and I want to help others rise too. So, why do we do this? Because somewhere along the line, we believed the lie that being powerful meant being alone. That if you shine too brightly, you'll lose people. That if you're too confident, you'll be rejected. That being too much will mean being unloved. But let me remind you, the right people are not intimidated by your light. They are ignited by it, and the people who fall away, they were never aligned with where you were going. You owe it to yourself to show up fully, to speak when your voice wants to rise, to step forward when the opportunity calls, to take up space. You don't need to justify your progress. You don't need to hide your wins. You don't need to apologize for evolving. If they can't handle your truth, let them fall back. You weren't made for their comfort zone. You were made for expansion. And when you stop dimming yourself, you give others permission to rise too. You're not always going to feel understood. You won't always get applause. Sometimes the people closest to you won't celebrate you the way you imagined. That's okay. Growth is not a group project, and your path is not a democracy. There will be times you walk alone. There will be moments of awkward silence when you stop playing the role they expect. But don't let that shake you. That's the space where transformation happens. You've evolved, and evolution is not something to be apologized for. You're not like everyone else, and that's your superpower. You see things others don't. You speak when others stay silent. You hold standards others gave up on. That doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you clear. Clear on who you are. Clear on what you stand for. Clear on where you're going. And if that makes people uncomfortable, let it. When you stop playing small, something magical happens. Opportunities open. Respect multiplies. Energy flows back. People who once overlooked you start paying attention. Not because you changed who you are, but because you finally decided to show all of it. And that version of you, the one that's no longer negotiating your truth just to be liked, That version of you changes everything. You were never too much. You were just around people who preferred less. You were never arrogant. You were just aware of your power. You were never overbearing. You were just standing in rooms that weren't built for your size. So, stop apologizing. Stop asking for permission. Stop diluting your power so they can stay asleep. This is your time to expand. Not shrink, not soften, not stall, but rise. The world doesn't need a quieter version of you. It needs the real one. The one who stopped playing small and finally decided to take up space.